Sarah Chen stood at the observation window of the transport ship and watched Kepler Station grow larger against the black space. The station looked like a giant wheel spinning slowly in the darkness, with lights blinking along its metal arms. She had traveled for 3 weeks to get here, to the edge of known space where few humans bothered to go. "First time this far out?" asked the Tyrillian pilot. His rocky skin glowed faint orange in the dim cockpit light. "Second time," Sarah said, adjusting the strap of her medical bag. "I did a rotation on Proxima 7 last year." The pilot made a grinding sound that might have been a laugh. "Kepler is nothing like Proxima. Out here we don't have fancy medical centers or quick rescue ships. When something goes wrong, you fix it yourself or you die waiting for help." Sarah nodded. She had read the briefing files. Kepler Station was a mining colony, with about 2,000 workers from 15 different species. The station had one small medical bay that was always understaffed. That was why they had hired her for a 6-month contract. The docking process took 20 minutes. When Sarah finally stepped onto the station, the first thing she noticed was the smell. Every space station had its own smell, a mixture of recycled air, machine oil, and whatever species lived there. Kepler Station smelled like metal and something sweet she could not identify. Administrator Vex met her at the docking bay. He was a Centauri, tall and thin with blue skin and 4 arms. 2 of his hands held data tablets while the other 2 gestured as he talked. "Dr. Chen, welcome to Kepler Station. I trust your journey was comfortable?" "Comfortable enough," Sarah said. "Where do you need me to start?" Vex's eyes brightened. "Humans were known for getting straight to work. I will show you the medical bay first. We have a Quellan doctor named Trix who runs the facility. She is excellent but overworked. Your arrival will be a great relief to her." They walked through the station's curved corridors. Workers of various species moved past them, some nodding to Vex, others too tired to notice. Sarah saw a group of insect-like crics hauling equipment, their 6 legs moving in perfect rhythm. A family of Velkari passed by, their crystalline bodies refracting the corridor lights into rainbow patterns. "The Velkari are beautiful," Sarah said. "Yes, and extremely fragile," Vex replied. "We have 12 Velkari families on the station. Their adults work in the refineries where their ability to sense molecular structures is invaluable, but their children are delicate. We must be very careful with them." The medical bay was larger than Sarah expected, but still small compared to proper hospitals. Dr. Trix, a Quellan with purple fur and large golden eyes, greeted Sarah with obvious relief. "Thank the stars you are here," Trix said, her voice high and musical. "I have been working 16-hour shifts for 2 months. Please tell me you have experience with non-human species." "I trained on Earth but did my residency on mixed species stations," Sarah said. "I have treated Centauri, Quellan, Tyrillian, Crix, and a few others. I learned fast." "Good, because we get everything here." Trix pulled up a holographic display showing the station's current medical cases. "Right now we have 3 workers with radiation burns, 1 with a broken manipulator arm, and 2 with station fever. Nothing critical today, which is a nice change." Sarah spent the next 3 hours reviewing protocols and familiarizing herself with the medical bay's equipment. Some of it was standard across the galaxy, but much of it was improvised or outdated. She made mental notes about what supplies they needed. Her shift was supposed to end at 8 in the evening, station time. At 7:30, the emergency alarm went off. Trix jumped up from her desk, her fur standing on end. "Mining Sector 7 habitat collapse. Multiple injuries possible." Sarah grabbed her emergency kit and ran after Trix. They took a transport cart through the station's service tunnels, arriving at the mining sector in 4 minutes. A crowd had gathered outside a residential unit where the entrance had partially caved in. A Tyrillian supervisor was trying to organize the rescue. His name was Krigesh, and his orange skin was pulsing bright red with stress. 2 families were inside, Krigesh said. "We got everyone out except one. A Velkari cub. She is trapped under debris." Sarah felt her heart sink. Velkari children were incredibly fragile. If the cub was injured, time was critical. "Where are her parents?" Trix asked. "Off station on a trade mission," Krigesh said. "They will not be back for 5 days." The rescue workers finally cleared enough debris to reach the trapped cub. Sarah pushed forward and crawled into the damaged unit. The air inside was filled with dust and broken furniture lay everywhere. She found the cub wedged between a fallen beam and the wall. The little Velkari was about the size of a human 5-year-old, with a body that looked like it was carved from pink crystal. Her forelegs were folded under her, and she was making a high-pitched sound that hurt Sarah's ears. "Hello, little one," Sarah said softly. "My name is Sarah. I am going to help you." The cub's large eyes focused on her. "Hurts," she said in a small voice. "Leg hurts." Sarah used her scanner to examine the cub without touching her. The display showed what she feared. One of the cub's back legs had a compound fracture. The bone, or whatever crystal structure served as bone in Velkari, was broken and displaced. "Trix, I need you here," Sarah called out. The Quellan doctor squeezed into the space beside her. When Trix saw the scan results, her fur flattened against her body, a sign of distress. "This is very bad," Trix whispered. "We do not have a Velkari regeneration chamber on the station. The nearest one is 3 days away by fast transport. Can we call for an emergency medical ship?" Sarah asked. "Already done," Krigesh said from outside. "But the nearest ship is 4 days away. There is a storm in the Kepler belt. No ship can travel through it safely." Sarah looked at the cub, whose name she learned was Shimmer. The little girl's body was starting to flicker, a sign that she was going into shock. If the leg was not stabilized soon, the fracture could spread through her crystalline structure like cracks in glass. That could kill her. "We need to move her carefully," Sarah said. "Very carefully. The leg cannot move at all." It took 15 minutes to extract Shimmer from the collapsed habitat. Sarah held the injured leg as steady as she could while rescue workers lifted the beam and pulled away debris. Every tiny movement made Shimmer cry out in her 3-part harmony, a sound that made everyone nearby wince. Finally, they had Shimmer on a transport stretcher. Sarah kept one hand on the fractured leg, maintaining pressure to keep the broken pieces aligned. They rushed back to the medical bay. Trix prepared the examination table while Sarah carefully transferred Shimmer from the stretcher. The cub was whimpering continuously now, her body flickering like a dying light. "Pain medication?" Sarah asked. "We have a mild suppressant that works with Velkari biology," Trix said, "but only a mild one. Anything stronger could damage her developing neural crystals." Sarah administered the medication. It helped a little, but Shimmer was still in obvious pain. Sarah examined the leg more closely with the medical scanner. The fracture was worse than she first thought. The crystal structure was cracked in 3 places and the displacement was significant. "We need to stabilize this now," Sarah said. "If we wait 3 days for the transport, the leg will shatter completely." "But we do not have the equipment," Trix said, her voice rising in panic. "Velkari young require quantum-aligned regeneration fields. We cannot just splint the leg like a human bone." Sarah looked at the frightened cub on the table. She looked at the scan showing the dangerous fracture. She thought about everything she had learned in medical school and in emergency rooms across 3 different planets. "Bones are bones," Sarah said quietly. "Or crystals are crystals in this case. The principles are the same. We need to realign the fracture and stabilize it so it cannot move. If we do that, her body can start healing itself." "But how?" Trix asked. "We do not have the right equipment." Sarah opened her emergency kit and started pulling out supplies. "Then we improvise." Sarah laid out her supplies on the medical tray while Trix watched with growing concern. The Quellan doctor's golden eyes darted between the equipment and the injured cub. "What are you planning to do?" Trix asked. "I am going to set the fracture and immobilize the leg," Sarah said. She spoke calmly the way she always did in emergencies. Panic helped no one. "I have done this dozens of times. But not on a Velkari," Trix said. "Their crystal structure is completely different from bone. If you damage the matrix, she could die." Sarah paused and looked at the other doctor. "If I do nothing, she will die. The fracture is already spreading. Look at the scan." Trix looked and saw that Sarah was right. Small cracks were forming around the main fracture site, spreading slowly through Shimmer's leg like frost on a window. "We have no choice," Sarah said. "We have to try." Shimmer made a soft sound on the table. "Am I going to die?" she asked in her small voice. Sarah moved to where the cub could see her face. "No, sweetie. I'm going to fix your leg. It will hurt for a little while, but then you will feel better. I promise." "My mama says humans keep their promises," Shimmer said. "We try very hard to," Sarah said. She gave the cub what she hoped was a reassuring smile. Sarah scrubbed her hands and put on sterile gloves. She studied the scan one more time, memorizing the exact position of the fracture. Then she took a deep breath and began. "Trix, I need you to hold her still," Sarah said. "Keep her upper body as calm as possible. Talk to her." Sing to her if you can. The Quellen doctor moved to Shimmer's head and began humming a soft melody. Her purple fur glowed faint gold, a Quellen calming technique. Sarah gently touched the fractured leg. Shimmer cried out and her body flickered wildly. Sarah could feel the broken crystal structure under her fingers, sharp edges that did not align properly. I am sorry, honey, Sarah said. I am so sorry, but I have to move it back into place. She had set hundreds of fractures during her training and career. Human bones, yes, but also the chitinous limbs of Crick's workers, the flexible cartilage of Quellen, the dense bone metal of Tyrillians. The principle was always the same: realign the broken parts so they could heal together. Sarah positioned her hands carefully. One hand supported the leg above the fracture. The other hand gripped below it. She took a breath and in one smooth motion pulled and rotated the leg back into alignment. Shimmer's scream filled the medical bay. Her three-part harmony was so loud that equipment rattled on the shelves. Sarah felt sick but kept her hands steady. Check the scan, Sarah said through gritted teeth. Trix, still humming to comfort Shimmer, glanced at the scanner display. It is aligned, she said, sounding surprised. The fracture edges are touching. Good, Sarah said. Now I need to keep it that way. This was the part that would either work or get her thrown off the station. Sarah released the leg carefully, keeping it supported, and reached for her equipment. She had brought a piece of broken container material from the collapsed habitat. It was thin, lightweight, and curved. Perfect for a splint. She cut it to size with medical shears and wrapped it in soft, sterile padding. Then she reached for the duct tape. What is that? Trix asked, staring at the silver roll. Medical-grade duct tape, Sarah said. It is a human invention. We use it for everything. You are going to put adhesive on a Velkari. Trix's voice rose in alarm. Their skin is extremely sensitive to chemical bonding. This tape is hypoallergenic and designed for medical use, Sarah said. She was already wrapping the padded splint around Shimmer's leg. It does not create a chemical bond. It is a mechanical adhesion. It will not hurt her. Sarah worked quickly and carefully. She positioned the splint along the fractured leg, making sure it supported the crystal structure without putting pressure on the fracture itself. Then she began wrapping the duct tape around it. She used a technique she had learned from an old emergency doctor on Mars. Wrap firmly, but not tight. Create even pressure across the entire area. Make sure there is no bunching or gaps. The tape should hold everything in place without cutting off circulation or, in this case, whatever Velkari had instead of circulation. Kregesh, the Tyrillian supervisor, had followed them to the medical bay. He stood in the doorway now, watching with his mouth hanging open. Is that adhesive? He asked. You are wrapping an injured Velkari cub in adhesive? Medical-grade duct tape, Sarah repeated without looking up. It is flexible, strong, and breathable. It will not react with her biochemistry. I have used it on 3 different species this year. This is insane, Kregesh muttered. But he did not try to stop her. Sarah continued wrapping, layer after layer of silver tape, creating a firm cocoon around the splint and Shimmer's leg. She could feel the fracture site under her hands, stable now, held in perfect alignment. When she finished wrapping, she created a sling from a piece of soft fabric and used more tape to attach it to Shimmer's body. The sling would keep the leg elevated and prevent the cub from putting weight on it. There, Sarah said, stepping back. Done. She looked at her work. Shimmer's back leg was wrapped in what looked like a silver club. It was not elegant or high-tech. It looked exactly like what it was, an emergency field repair done with whatever materials were available. But it was stable. The fracture was aligned. The leg could not move. Sarah checked Shimmer's vital signs. The cub's flickering had slowed. Her pain signals, which registered as color changes in Velkari, had shifted from bright red to a duller orange. How do you feel, sweetie? Sarah asked. Shimmer looked at her leg with wide eyes. It does not hurt as much, she said. The sharp pain is gone. Now it just aches. That is good, Sarah said. That means the bone is not moving anymore. Your body can start to heal now. She gave Shimmer another small dose of pain medication. The cub's eyes began to droop. Can I sleep? Shimmer asked. Yes, you should sleep, Sarah said. Sleep helps healing. I will be right here watching you. Within minutes, Shimmer was asleep. Her body still glowed softly, but the frantic flickering had stopped. The medical scanner showed stable vital signs. Trix stood beside Sarah, staring at the sleeping cub. I cannot believe that worked, the Quellen doctor said. You stabilized a Velkari fracture with padding and adhesive tape. And a splint, Sarah said. She was suddenly exhausted. Do not forget the splint. The Velkari medical team will be here in an hour, Trix said. They were already on their way to another emergency when we called them. What will you tell them? Sarah looked at the silver-wrapped leg. I will tell them the truth. I stabilized a fracture using the equipment and knowledge I had available. It was an emergency. I made a judgment call. They might not see it that way, Trix said quietly. The Velkari are very protective of their young. They have strict protocols about who can treat them and how. I understand, Sarah said, but I would make the same choice again. She would have died waiting for the perfect equipment. Kregesh came fully into the medical bay. His red stress color was fading back to his normal orange. I need to ask you something, Dr. Chen. Why do humans carry adhesive tape in medical kits? Sarah managed a tired smile. On Earth we have a saying. Duct tape fixes everything. We use it to repair ships, pressure suits, and broken equipment. Why not broken bones? But you said this is medical grade, Kregesh said. It is, Sarah said. After we started using regular duct tape in emergency medicine and found it worked surprisingly well, someone made a better version specifically for medical use. It is sterile, hypoallergenic, and designed to work with biological tissues, but it is still basically duct tape. Kregesh made that grinding sound that was Tyrillian laughter. Humans are strange. You come to the stars and bring sticky tape with you. We bring what works, Sarah said. An alarm chimed. Trix checked the station communications. The Velkari medical team is here. They are docking now. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. She had saved Shimmer's life, she was certain of that. But she had also treated the cub using methods that no Velkari doctor would ever approve. She had used primitive, improvised techniques on a species that relied on advanced quantum technology for healing. She looked down at Shimmer, sleeping peacefully with her silver-wrapped leg. Let them come, Sarah said. I did what I had to do. Trix put a gentle paw on Sarah's shoulder. For what it is worth, I think you saved her life. Whatever happens next, remember that. 5 minutes later, the medical bay doors opened and 3 Velkari doctors rushed in. They were adults, much larger than Shimmer, their crystalline bodies shimmering with agitation. The lead doctor, whose name badge identified him as Resonance of Dawn, went straight to Shimmer. He stopped when he saw the silver-wrapped leg. His body flashed bright red. What? He said in a voice like breaking glass. Have you done to this child? Sarah stood her ground as Resonance of Dawn loomed over her. The Velkari doctor was tall, nearly 7 feet, and his crystalline body pulsed with anger. The other 2 Velkari doctors moved to Shimmer's side, their scanning devices already humming. I stabilized a compound fracture, Sarah said calmly. The cub was in danger of the fracture spreading through her entire leg. She needed immediate intervention. Immediate intervention? Resonance of Dawn's voice was high and sharp. You wrapped a Velkari child in primitive adhesive binding. This is barbarism. This is butchery. This is emergency medicine, Sarah replied. She felt her own anger rising but pushed it down. Getting emotional would not help. I used the materials and knowledge I had available to save her life. The second Velkari doctor, whose badge read clarity and thought, was scanning Shimmer's wrapped leg. The fracture is aligned, she said, sounding surprised. But the treatment method is completely inappropriate for Velkari physiology. What method would you suggest? Sarah asked. The nearest regeneration chamber is 3 days away. She would have died waiting. You do not understand, Resonance of Dawn said. Velkari young require quantum-aligned regeneration fields. Our crystal structure does not heal the same way organic bone does. You cannot simply bind it together and hope for the best. I did not hope, Sarah said. I used proven techniques for fracture stabilization. The principles of keeping broken structures immobile while they heal apply across species. The third Velkari doctor, who had not spoken yet, suddenly said, Her pain levels are significantly lower than they should be for this type of injury. Resonance of Dawn waved a hand dismissively. She is probably in shock. We need to remove this crude binding immediately and get her into a stasis field until proper treatment can arrive. No, Sarah said firmly. Everyone in the medical bay turned to look at her. No, Resonance of Dawn repeated. You dare to tell me no? I am a certified Velkari medical practitioner with 40 years of experience. And I am telling you that removing that stabilization right now could cause more damage, Sarah said. The fracture is aligned. The leg is supported. If you unwrap it and move it around, you risk displacing the fracture again. You could cause the cracks to spread. You do not know what you are talking about, Resonance of Dawn said. His body was flashing red and orange now. You are a human with no training in Velkari medicine. You have endangered this child with your primitive methods. Administrator Vex arrived then, all four of his arms moving in agitation. What is happening here? I heard shouting from the corridor. This human has committed medical malpractice, Resonance of Dawn said immediately. She treated a Velkari child using barbaric techniques. I am filing a formal complaint with the station authorities and the Galactic Medical Council. Vex looked at Sarah. Dr. Chen? Sarah explained the situation as clearly as she could. The habitat collapse, the compound fracture, the time constraints, her decision to stabilize the leg using available materials. I made a judgment call, Sarah finished. In my professional opinion, it was the right call. Your professional opinion is worth nothing in this matter, Resonance of Dawn said. You are not qualified to treat Velkari patients. I am qualified to treat emergencies, Sarah shot back. And this was an emergency. Word had spread through the station. A crowd was gathering outside the medical bay. Sarah could see Kragesh explaining what happened to a group of Tyrillian miners. Some were nodding in agreement. Others looked concerned. Trix stepped forward, her purple fur bristled. I am the senior medical officer on this station. Dr. Chen acted under my authority. If you want to file a complaint, include me in it. I will, Resonance of Dawn said coldly. Clarity and Thought was still scanning Shimmer. Her vital signs are stable, she reported. Better than stable, actually. Her pain response is within normal range for a treated fracture. Because she is in shock, Resonance of Dawn insisted. The scanner does not indicate shock, Clarity and Thought said slowly. She sounded confused. It indicates normal sleep patterns and adequate pain management. Shimmer stirred on the table. Her large eyes opened and she looked around at all the adults arguing. Why are you fighting? She asked in her small voice. Resonance of Dawn immediately softened his tone. Hello, little one. I am Dr. Resonance. We are here to help you.
Can you tell me how you feel?
My leg hurts, Shimmer said. But not like before. Before it felt like breaking glass inside me. Now it just feels sore. That is the trauma speaking, Resonance of Dawn said. We are going to remove this crude binding and put you in a proper medical field. No, Shimmer said. Everyone stared at the cub. What do you mean, no? Resonance of Dawn asked gently. The nice human lady fixed my leg, Shimmer said. She said it would hurt but then feel better. It does feel better. I do not want you to take it off and make it hurt again. Sarah felt a surge of gratitude toward the brave little cub, but she kept her expression neutral. Administrator Vex raised two of his hands. Clearly this is a complex situation. I propose a compromise. Shimmer will remain stabilized as she is for now. The Velkari medical team will monitor her closely. If her condition worsens, they will intervene immediately. If her condition remains stable, we wait for the specialized transport to arrive. That is unacceptable, Resonance of Dawn said. Every moment this child remains in that primitive binding is a moment of suffering. She says she feels better, Vex pointed out. She is a child. She does not understand her own condition. I understand that it hurt very badly before and now it does not, Shimmer said. Her voice was stronger now. I understand that the human lady helped me when I was scared. Clarity and Thought put away her scanner. I think the administrator's compromise is reasonable. We can monitor the child continuously. If there are any signs of deterioration, we act immediately. The third Velkari doctor nodded agreement. Resonance of Dawn looked outnumbered. Fine, he said at last. But I want a full examination every 2 hours. And I am still filing a formal complaint. This human's actions, regardless of the outcome, were inappropriate and dangerous. File whatever complaints you want, Sarah said tiredly. I did what I thought was right. Administrator Vex made an executive decision. Dr. Chen, you are placed on administrative review pending investigation of this incident. You will not treat patients until the review is complete. Dr. Trix will handle all medical cases. Sarah nodded. She had expected as much. You may return to your quarters, Vex said. The Velkari team will take over Shimmer's care. Sarah looked at the little cub on the table. Shimmer gave her a small wave with one front leg. Thank you, Shimmer said. Thank you for helping me. You are welcome, sweetie, Sarah said. Be brave, okay? These doctors will take good care of you. Sarah gathered her equipment and left the medical bay. The crowd in the corridor parted for her. Some species nodded respectfully. Others turned away, not wanting to be associated with her. Back in her quarters, Sarah sat on her bunk and put her head in her hands. She had been on Kepler Station for less than 12 hours, and she was already facing a formal investigation. But when she closed her eyes, she saw Shimmer's fractured leg, the cracks spreading through the crystal structure, the cub's body flickering with pain and shock. She had made the right choice. She knew she had. Her communicator beeped. It was Craigish, the Tyrillian supervisor. Dr. Chen, I wanted you to know that I submitted a report to station security. I stated that, in my opinion, you saved that cub's life. The Velkari doctors arrived too late to do anything but criticize. Thank you, Sarah said. That means a lot. Humans have a reputation, Craigish said. You solve problems in ways that make other species uncomfortable. But you solve them. That counts for something. Over the next 3 days, Sarah remained confined to her quarters except for meals. She had no access to the medical bay. All she could do was wait and wonder how Shimmer was doing. The station was divided. Some species thought Sarah was a hero who did what needed to be done. Others thought she was reckless, treating an alien child with human methods that could have killed her. Sarah read, exercised, and tried not to worry. But she thought about Shimmer constantly. Was the fracture holding? Was the leg healing? Were the Velkari doctors finding problems that she had missed? On the third day, there was a knock on her door. It was Clarity and Thought, one of the Velkari doctors. She looked uncomfortable. May I come in? She asked. Sarah stepped aside. The Velkari doctor entered the small quarters, her crystalline body barely fitting in the space. How is Shimmer? Sarah asked immediately. Clarity and Thought was quiet for a moment. Then she said, she is healing. Healing? Sarah felt relief flood through her. The fracture is stable? More than stable, Clarity and Thought said slowly. Dr. Chen, I need to tell you something. Something that Resonance of Dawn does not want to admit. Sarah waited. Your tape, the Velkari doctor said, the way you wrapped it. It is applying constant, even pressure across the entire fracture site. Micro-pressure, distributed perfectly. Yes, Sarah said. That is the point of a compression wrap. Our regeneration chambers work on a similar principle, Clarity and Thought said. They create a stabilization field that applies quantum pressure to encourage crystal regrowth. Your primitive method is doing the same thing, just mechanically instead of energetically. Sarah stared at her. Are you saying my duct tape splint is functioning like your advanced technology? Not Clarity and Thought settled into the small chair in Sarah's quarters, her crystalline body chiming softly as she moved. Sarah sat on her bunk, still processing what the Velkari doctor had told her. I do not understand, Sarah said. If the treatment is working, why am I still under review? Because Resonance of Dawn is proud, Clarity and Thought said, and because admitting that a human solved a problem with tape would make our entire medical establishment look foolish. He would rather maintain that you got lucky than admit your method has merit. I did not get lucky, Sarah said firmly. I used basic principles of fracture care that apply across multiple species. I have studied comparative anatomy. I know that crystalline structures and carbon-based bones are different, but the physics of keeping broken things immobile while they heal is universal. I know, Clarity and Thought said, and I think you are right, but Resonance of Dawn will not admit it. He is calling for your medical license to be suspended. He wants you banned from treating non-human patients. Sarah felt cold. Losing her license would end her career. Everything she had worked for gone because she saved a child's life. What will happen now? She asked. The specialized transport arrives tomorrow, Clarity and Thought said. It carries 3 of the best Velkari medical specialists in the sector. They will examine Shimmer and make a final determination about her treatment. Their opinion will carry significant weight. Will they be biased? Sarah asked. Will they automatically side with Resonance of Dawn? I do not know, Clarity and Thought admitted. But I can tell you that one of them, Harmony of Song, is known for being open-minded. She has worked with many species and respects different approaches to medicine. If anyone will give you a fair evaluation, it is her. After Clarity and Thought left, Sarah tried to sleep but could not. She kept thinking about Shimmer, about the fracture, about everything that could still go wrong. She had done her best, but was her best good enough? The next day arrived slowly. Sarah was not allowed to go to the medical bay when the specialists arrived, but she watched the station newsfeed on her terminal. The transport had docked. 3 senior Velkari medical practitioners had come aboard. Hours passed. Sarah paced her small quarters. She tried to read but could not concentrate. She tried to exercise but gave up after 10 minutes. All she could do was wait. Finally, in the late afternoon, Administrator Vex came to her quarters with Harmony of Song. The specialist was older than the other Velkari Sarah had met. Her crystalline body had a golden tint, and she moved with careful deliberation. Her eyes were kind. "Dr. Chen," Harmony of Song said in a musical voice, "I would like to speak with you about your treatment of young Shimmer." Sarah braced herself. Of course. They sat together in the small quarters. Vex stood by the door, his forearms folded. "I have examined Shimmer thoroughly," Harmony of Song said. "I have reviewed all medical scans from the time of injury until now. I have spoken with the cub herself and with the other doctors who have monitored her. I have also examined your improvised splint in detail." Sarah waited, her heart pounding. "Your treatment was highly unconventional," Harmony of Song said. "You used materials and methods that no Velkari doctor would ever consider. Your splint is crude by our standards, primitive even, but," Sarah asked, hearing the word that was coming. "But it worked," Harmony of Song said simply. "More than worked. Shimmer's leg is healing beautifully. The crystal matrix is regenerating along proper lines. The fracture is stable. She is in minimal pain. By all measures, your emergency intervention was successful." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes but blinked them back. "More than that," Harmony of Song continued, "I believe your success was not luck. You understood the fundamental principle of fracture care, stabilization. You applied constant, even pressure across the injury site. You prevented further damage while allowing natural healing processes to begin. The fact that you did this with padding and adhesive tape rather than quantum fields is irrelevant. The outcome is what matters." "Resonance of Dawn disagrees," Sarah said. "Resonance of Dawn is a skilled doctor but a stubborn person," Harmony of Song said with a slight chime that might have been a laugh. "He believes that advanced technology is always superior to simple solutions. He is wrong. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one." Vex stepped forward. "Does this mean Dr. Chen is cleared of charges?" "I am recommending that all charges be dropped," Harmony of Song said. "More than that, I am recommending that her technique be documented and studied. There are many remote outposts like Kepler Station that do not have access to specialized equipment. If a simple stabilization method can save lives until proper treatment arrives, we should teach it." Sarah could hardly believe what she was hearing. "You want to teach other doctors to use duct tape?" "I want to teach them the principles you applied," Harmony of Song said. "The materials do not matter. What matters is understanding how to stabilize a fracture, using whatever resources are available. You have that understanding. Many doctors, Velkari and otherwise, do not. They rely too much on technology and not enough on fundamental medical knowledge." "Resonance of Dawn will be furious," Vex said. "Resonance of Dawn will accept the decision of the Senior Review Board," Harmony of Song said firmly. "I am writing a report that will be submitted to the Galactic Medical Council. I expect it will generate significant discussion." Over the next week, everything changed. The charges against Sarah were officially dropped. She was cleared to return to duty. Resonance of Dawn left the station in a huff, still insisting that Sarah's methods were barbaric. But the other two Velkari doctors stayed to study her technique. Shimmer's parents returned from their trade mission. They came directly to find Sarah. The mother, whose name was Crystal Dawn, embraced Sarah with 3 of her 4 arms. "You saved our daughter's life," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We can never thank you enough." "I just did my job," Sarah said. "You did more than your job," the father, brightness rising, said. "You treated our daughter when others would have waited for perfect conditions. You took a risk because it was the right thing to do. That is true medicine." They brought Shimmer to see Sarah. The cub walked on all 4 legs now, though the injured one was still wrapped in the silver tape. She would need to keep it wrapped for another 4 weeks, but she was healing well. "Hi, Dr. Sarah," Shimmer said shyly. "Hi, sweetie," Sarah said, kneeling down to the cub's level. "How are you feeling?" "Much better," Shimmer said. "My leg does not hurt anymore, and I like showing my friends my silver leg. They think it looks cool," Sarah laughed. "I am glad you're feeling better." "When I grow up," Shimmer said seriously, "I want to be a doctor like you, a doctor who helps people even when it is hard." Sarah felt her throat tighten. "That is a wonderful dream." Trix invited Sarah to present a case study at the next station medical conference. Doctors from multiple species attended, and Sarah explained her treatment step by step. She showed images of the fracture, demonstrated how she aligned it, and explained the principle of compression stabilization. Some doctors were skeptical. Others were fascinated, but all of them listened. The key, Sarah explained, is not the materials you use. The key is understanding what needs to happen for healing to occur. In the case of a fracture, you need three things: proper alignment, immobilization, and time. How you achieve those things depends on what you have available. A Crick's doctor raised a claw. But what about species-specific protocols? Should we ignore specialized training? No, Sarah said. Specialized knowledge is vital. But in an emergency, when specialized equipment is not available, you use what you have. You apply basic principles and adapt them to the situation. That is what emergency medicine is about. Harmony of Song attended the presentation. When it was over, she approached Sarah. That was well done, the Velkari specialist said. You explained complex ideas in simple terms. That is a valuable skill. Thank you, Sarah said. I hope it helps someone. It will, Harmony of Song said. In fact, I would like to invite you to present this case at the Interspecies Medical Conference on Centauri Prime in 3 months. It is the largest gathering of medical professionals in the sector. Your work deserves a wider audience, Sarah was stunned. The Interspecies Conference? That is a huge event. Are you sure? I am certain, Harmony of Song said. Your case challenges conventional thinking. It reminds us that technology, while wonderful, is not always necessary. Sometimes knowledge and creativity are enough. The medical community needs to hear that message. Word spread through Kepler Station and beyond. Sarah Chen, the human doctor who fixed a Velkari cub with duct tape. The story grew with each telling, becoming larger than the actual event. But the core truth remained. A human had solved a problem that others thought required advanced technology. Not everyone was pleased. Some doctors, particularly those who specialized in high-tech medicine, saw Sarah's success as a criticism of their methods. They wrote articles arguing that her success was an isolated incident, that relying on primitive techniques was dangerous. But others saw it differently. They saw proof that good medicine was about understanding principles, not just having the best equipment. They saw hope for Rem. 3 months passed quickly on Kepler Station. Sarah fell into a routine of treating patients, training the medical staff, and preparing for the conference on Centauri Prime. Shimmer's leg healed completely, and the silver tape was finally removed. The cub ran through the station corridors on all 4 legs, showing no signs of the injury that had almost killed her. The day before Sarah was scheduled to leave for the conference, Shimmer and her parents came to say goodbye. I will miss you, Shimmer said, wrapping her front legs around Sarah's waist in a Velkari hug. I will miss you too, Sarah said, but I will be back in 2 weeks. This is my home now. Will you tell everyone at the conference about me? Shimmer asked. I will tell them about a very brave cub who stayed calm when she was hurt, Sarah said, and about how you taught me that patients know their own bodies. You told me the pain was better and you were right. Crystal Dawn, Shimmer's mother, presented Sarah with a gift. It was a small crystal pendant, carved in the shape of a star. This is a traditional Velkari healing symbol, she said. We want you to have it. Sarah put it on immediately. Thank you. I will wear it at the conference. The transport to Centauri Prime took 4 days. Sarah spent the time reviewing her presentation and trying not to be nervous. She had spoken at medical conferences before, but never one this large. Thousands of doctors from across the galaxy would be there. When the transport docked at Centauri Prime, Sarah was overwhelmed by the size of the station. It was 50 times larger than Kepler, a gleaming city in space. The conference center alone was bigger than the entire mining colony she had left behind. Harmony of Song met her at the docking bay. Welcome to Centauri Prime, Dr. Chen. Are you ready? I think so, Sarah said. I am definitely nervous. That is natural, Harmony of Song said. But remember, you have something valuable to share. Trust in your knowledge and your experience. The conference was a 3-day event. Sarah attended presentations on new surgical techniques, advanced diagnostic tools, and cutting-edge research. She felt small among so many accomplished doctors. What did she have to offer compared to scientists who were developing molecular regeneration or quantum healing fields? Her presentation was scheduled for the 2nd day, in one of the main auditoriums. Sarah had expected a small audience, maybe 50 or 100 doctors interested in emergency medicine. Instead, when she walked onto the stage, she saw hundreds of beings filling the seats. Word had spread about the human who fixed a Velkari with tape. Sarah stood at the podium looking out at the audience. She saw Velkari, Quellan, Tyrillian, Crix, Centauri, and dozens of species she did not recognize. Some looked curious. Others looked skeptical. A few looked openly hostile. She took a deep breath and began. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. 3 months ago, I treated a Velkari cub with a compound fracture, using materials that many of you would consider primitive. Today I want to talk about why that worked, what it means for emergency medicine, and how we can learn from situations where we do not have perfect equipment. She showed images of Shimmer's injury, explained her reasoning, and demonstrated her technique. She talked about compression, stabilization, and the fundamental principles that applied across species. I did not invent anything new, Sarah said. I applied old knowledge in a new situation. That is what emergency medicine requires. We cannot always wait for ideal conditions. Sometimes we have to work with what we have. When she finished, there was silence. Then slowly applause started. Not everyone was clapping, but enough were that Sarah felt a wave of relief. The question period was intense. A Velkari doctor stood up and said, "Your technique worked once. How do you know it was not just luck?" "I do not rely on luck," Sarah replied. "I rely on understanding anatomy and physics. The technique I used is based on principles that have been tested thousands of times across multiple species. The materials were improvised, but the principle was sound." A Tyrillian doctor asked, "Are you suggesting we abandon advanced medical technology?" "No," Sarah said firmly. "Advanced technology is wonderful when we have it. But we should not forget basic techniques that work in emergencies. Technology fails. Equipment breaks. Ships get delayed. When that happens, doctors need to know how to adapt." A small elderly Quellan doctor raised her paw. Sarah recognized her from articles she had read. Dr. Whisper of Wind was famous, one of the most respected emergency physicians in the galaxy. "I have a question," Dr. Whisper of Wind said in her soft voice. "What do you think is the most important quality for an emergency doctor?" Sarah thought carefully. "Adaptability," she said. "The ability to look at a situation and find a solution with whatever resources you have. And the courage to act when action is needed, even if your solution is not perfect." Dr. Whisper of Wind nodded slowly. "That is the correct answer." After the presentation, Sarah was surrounded by doctors wanting to talk. Some praised her work. Others challenged her methods. One group of human doctors invited her to join their research project on cross-species emergency techniques. But the most meaningful conversation came from an unexpected source. Resonance of Dawn, the Velkari doctor who had filed charges against her, approached as the crowd was thinning. "Dr. Chen," he said stiffly. "Dr. Resonance," Sarah replied. "Uncertain what to expect, I owe you an apology," he said. The word seemed difficult for him. "I was wrong to call your methods brutal. They were unconventional, yes, but they saved young Shimmer's life. I let my pride blind me to that fact." Sarah was surprised. "Thank you for saying that. I have spent 40 years believing that advanced technology is always superior." Resonance of Dawn continued. "You proved that belief is incorrect. Sometimes simple is better. That is a hard lesson for an old doctor to learn, but an important one." He extended one crystalline hand. Sarah shook it carefully. "I still think duct tape is undignified," Resonance of Dawn said, and his body chimed in a way that Sarah now recognized as humor. "But I cannot argue with results." The next day, Sarah attended a special session of the Galactic Medical Council. Harmony of Song had submitted a formal proposal to add mechanical stabilization techniques to the standard emergency medical curriculum. The proposal cited Sarah's case as primary evidence. The debate was heated. Some council members supported the idea. Others worried about setting bad precedents or encouraging doctors to rely on primitive methods. Finally, Dr. Whisper of Wind stood to speak. The entire room went quiet. Her opinion carried enormous weight. "I have practiced emergency medicine for 70 years, she said. "I have worked on advanced space stations and primitive frontier worlds. I have treated hundreds of species with equipment ranging from quantum regenerators to sharpened sticks. And I can tell you this truth. The best doctor is not the one with the best equipment. The best doctor is the one who can save lives regardless of circumstances." She pointed to Sarah. This young human demonstrated exactly the kind of thinking we need to teach. She assessed the situation, identified the problem, and applied fundamental principles to solve it. That is medicine at its core. Not the tools we use, but the knowledge and creativity we bring to each patient. The vote was close, but the proposal passed. Mechanical stabilization techniques would be added to the emergency medical curriculum across the galaxy. Students would learn both high-tech and low-tech methods for treating fractures, bleeding, and other common emergencies. Sarah's duct tape technique would be taught alongside quantum regeneration. When Sarah returned to Kepler Station, she found a surprise waiting. The station had put up a small plaque in the medical bay that read, "In recognition of Dr. Sarah Chen, who proved that good medicine comes from good thinking, not just good technology." Trix was there with Shimmer and her parents. The cub ran to Sarah and hugged her. "You are famous now," Shimmer said. "Everyone knows about the human doctor who fixed me." "I am not famous," Sarah said. "I am just a doctor doing my job." But she was wrong. Over the following months, medical students from across the galaxy requested to study with her. She received invitations to teach at universities and medical centers. Research papers cited her case study. The Chen method, as it came to be known, was practiced on hundreds of worlds. Remote colonies began stocking their medical bays with simple materials alongside advanced equipment. Duct tape, splints, and compression wraps became standard supplies. Doctors learned to think creatively about stabilization and emergency care. Sarah continued working on Kepler Station. She treated miners and families, taught medical techniques, and trained new doctors who came to learn from her. She never became comfortable with the fame, but she appreciated what it accomplished. More doctors were learning to adapt, to improvise, to solve problems with whatever they had available. 1 year after the incident, Sarah received a message from the Galactic Medical Council. They were creating a new certification in emergency adaptation medicine. They wanted Sarah to help design the curriculum. She sat in her quarters reading the message, thinking about how much had changed. A year ago, she had been an unknown doctor on a remote station. Now she was helping shape the future of emergency medicine across the galaxy. All because she used duct tape to fix a broken leg.